All right, welcome back. Second hour of fantasy sports today here on SportsGrid. Craig and George here with you. Big day in sports, by the way, today. We've got plenty to cover. In addition, we've got some hockey games, naturally, baseball games to cover. The Preakness is today. The PGA Championship is rolling on at Quail Hollow. But who steals the headlines during the week? Of course, it's the NFL. They have the schedule release where they post all of the games and they do it in funny videos. Some are too much, they get in trouble. Others just goes on. But the bigger news I think since last week is the Saints have a new quarterback that we don't know who it's going to be yet. Derek Carr decided to retire late Sunday, Monday after our show last week. We never really covered that here, and the Saints have, it seems like, decided, George, that there's no better time to hit the reset button than now. Over on all the sports books, they have the lowest win total officially on the board, along with the Cleveland Browns. And you hearing rumors that Chris Olave is going to get traded. Look, let's just look at what happens, George, to rebuilding teams. They still have to sell tickets, right? And it is May. So don't expect anything crazy to happen with the Saints. But George, right before training camp and right before that season starts, the Saints are going to have no one going into next year. It is going to be a zero. They are going to try and trade anything that they have that's not locked down. Carr is not coming back. They don't have a quarterback. They don't have an offensive line. Any of those receivers you see on the team and even their good defensive players that they're going to try and move because they're going to be in tank mode this season. Not going to admit that, but I think that's where they're headed.
I would agree with most of that. Listen, I did mention on the show last week that it was a strange situation with Derek Carr, right? Then an hour later, he decides to retire. It was a strange situation. I thought he wanted to get out of New Orleans and play someplace else. I think I'd mentioned Pittsburgh last week as maybe a possible destination there. Apparently, he just may be done with football. And listen, that's fine. You don't want to take the hits anymore. It's a brutal sport. I don't really have an issue with a football player retiring. I don't. You want your quality of life to be good with all the money you've got there. So good for him. But everything you said about the team is correct. I mean, they did draft Tyler Shaw in the second round. We'll see what he can give you there. Spencer Rattler, no, that's not happening. Maybe they do trade Olave. Maybe they do try and trade Shaheed. Maybe Kamara, who they just signed to a new contract. I didn't understand when they did that last year. But it's a mess. Bottom line is it's a mess here. You're nowhere near what Tampa Bay is. You're not near what Atlanta is, what they're growing to be. Even Carolina seems to be well ahead of you in their progress here. So you probably do have to rip it all down, start from scratch here. And let's face it, there's a chance. There's a certain player who has a legacy, whose father has a legacy in New Orleans that might come out next year. I don't think he will, mind you. Not by family history. They generally stay in school for the full amount. But if they have the number one pick, it'd be real interesting, Craig, if Arch Manning decides to come out and announce his, eligibility for the NFL.
Yeah, look, we're a long way from that. And also, let's also not forget that regardless of how bad the Saints have ever been, they always play well at home. And that usually scratches them out 3 or 4 wins over the course of the season. But I don't expect the Saints to sniff 6 wins. Like, I think that they, I just kind of remember with George what Miami did in their, sort of tank for Tua season, if you remember that. They basically did nothing. And then right before the season started, they just unloaded everybody because they knew where they were headed. I think the Saints are headed toward the same. Meanwhile, our Aaron Rodgers update is more of nothing. He's still a free agent. It's the Steelers or bust, it seems like, George, at this point. Is there anything more to add to this conversation?
No, we've hit this before, right? I'm surprised Pittsburgh's allowing him to do this, but every report is the Pittsburgh Steelers are expecting Aaron Rodgers to eventually say, yeah, let's go. You said he has nobody else. The only thing he can be possibly waiting for is an injury. All right, and maybe it happens, but then he's going to have to wait until August. Saints. I'm going to say it's not going to be the Saints. All right, just going to go on a wild limb here that he won't be the quarterback of the Saints this season. It has to be Pittsburgh eventually, but I guess maybe he's buried in that dark hole of his, and he's having every whatever. All right, so we'll see here, but it's either Pittsburgh or he's waiting for an injury in training camp, and is he going to wait till July, August? Can't see that.
Thanksgiving games ended up pretty solid, I thought. International games also were released. Maybe the most compelling of all of them, George, is the fact that with all the streaming services that are out there these days, Amazon Prime, Netflix, Peacock, and more, the NFL has chosen to put a game on free streaming TV. I've never seen this before. I mean, basically, an internet connection gets you an NFL game. You don't have to have a subscription to anything else. Chiefs and Chargers will play on YouTube, George. Now, they're going to hit you with a million ads. Get ready for that. But this is sort of groundbreaking here because if things end up on YouTube, I don't know what this would mean for people who have subs and subscriptions. I mean, remember, you have to pay for Netflix. You have to pay for Amazon Prime. YouTube is free.
Yeah, but you just said it there. These games are like 7 hours long. So there's going to be a billion ads during this to make up that money. Listen, I don't have an issue. I get YouTube. I'm watching it. I have all the other subscriptions too because I think I think to watch every NFL game, you need like 11. All right, between Fox, CBS, ESPN, and every subscription that has these games here, it's just gotten out of whack here. That being said, we all watch and we all pay for it. International games. Going to be a lot of Sundays we're waking up early. Even on the East Coast, got to wake up early. You're on the West Coast, forget it. You just might as well stay up all night. But yeah, we wake up early to watch all those games because they generally 9:30 Eastern starts.
Yeah, I still don't mind the international games. And, actually for the first time, I would say in a long time this year, I was like up watching and popping those games on Sunday morning from London or Germany, wherever they were. But I will say that for me, like you just tell me where the game is. I'm one of those people that is pretty savvy technologically. I can find those. But for a lot of folks, George, like it's going to be tougher for people to gravitate around and find where these games were. The one place that I would say, George, that seems to be, I don't know, you tell me if I'm wrong, being faded out here is NFL Network. Remember when NFL Network first launched and like there was these shows and all these games on their network? It feels like everybody else is getting games.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think as far as finding games, I'm a hockey guy. All right. I mean, I don't know what when TNT when there was two hockey games going at the same time, they were putting something on the True Network. I never heard of this network. I actually had to look it up online. What channel is the True Network on Cablevision in Brookhaven to find this channel here? And I was doing this while doing a show with Brady Cannon on In Game Live, trying to find this game. I was freaking out. So I'll find the NFL game. All right. Generally, those are publicized well in advance of what service or what channel or whatever it's on here. But listen, it's the way of the world. They're making money. They want to make money. I think eventually we're going to have a 16 game, maybe even a 17 game slate of overseas games. I think it's just the way they're not going to have a Europe division, which I think Goodell would still like. But they're not going to have that, so they're going to have a full slate of overseas games anyway. We're going to have to get used to these times and trying to find these games all over the place. But like I said, it's a football game. It's one day a week. You have plenty of time to research it and figure out where to look to find your game.
Chiefs, Cowboys, Thanksgiving. Did I see that?
Yeah, Cowboys play on Christmas too, so I have a pretty good chance of having two. I don't remember who they play on Christmas offhand. Pretty good. Washington, they play the Commanders on Christmas. So Chiefs on Thanksgiving, Commanders on Christmas. Pretty good chance my holidays are going to be ruined. Thank you so much there. Yeah. I don't see either one of those really going all that well here. Maybe they can win one of those games. As far as the Cowboys, I do think they'll win over their 7.5 game win total. All right, I think they'll get that far. They generally do with Dak. It's not the regular season that's a problem with Dak Prescott. It's the playoffs here. I'll take over 7.5 wins.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, thank goodness the Cowboys are adding a receiver in Pickens because I just really feel like they needed to help that offense going into next year. All right, SportsGrid app's available for both on iOS and Android. You can download it now. As I mentioned before, just scan it and the QR code will take you exactly where you need to be and get you previews for all of the Stanley Cup games. Big 7th game coming up between Florida and Toronto, and also big 7th game between Oklahoma City and Denver in the NBA. Game 7 is what we live for here at SportsGrid. So make sure you get the edge by downloading the QR code right there, and it'll get you all set up for the SportsGrid app. Coming up next, we preview the weekend in fantasy baseball. We'll start off with Mets and Yankees, White Sox and Cubs next. Be right back, guys.
your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
They
does.
played side by side
DRS.
with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't
the
that
best
he wasn't as
quarterback
good as
prospect
Quinn
they've ever
Ewers.
got to Texas.
It wasn't that he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian
Why
made
would it be
very
Quinn
clear
Ewers' program?
the entirety of the time that
No.
Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a seventh-round pick,
Quinn
Arch
Ewers'
Manning is
team.
not that good and not deserving of being first overall is
Yes.
asinine. It is wrong.
I
It is
just told you
incorrect.
he's going to be number one overall. My whole thing
No,
was
see,
I'm
you're
buying
doing
him
your
because
thing now
I
where you
expect him to
double
have a
down on a
decent
tape
season. No, I'm
that
not
is
doing that.
incorrect
The
when I
best
show it's
quarterback
incorrect.
prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over
not,
a seventh-round
though. There were
pick
two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback
Stop
recruits
it.
in the
Stop
history of
it.
the sport.
Quinn
Vince
Ewers couldn't
Young
even play at
and
Ohio
Quinn
State.
Ewers.
He couldn't even play at
Vince
Ohio
Young and
State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Let's take a look at the weekend in fantasy baseball and games today and tomorrow. By the way, Joe Pisapia and Matt Stryker have you also tomorrow morning, or Sunday morning, just in case you want even more fantasy content. We'll start off with Yankees and Mets this weekend. Griffin Canning, who's done a nice job, pitches for the Mets against Clark Schmidt. David Peterson against the Yankees. Ace at this point, fair to say, Max Fried. So, look, this is going to be a fun, competitive series, George. It's, for me, I really look forward to seeing, how Judge does, how Soto does, and everything else. But there's no question that as much as I hate it, I know the focus is on that series this weekend.
Listen, no surprise there, right? People want to see if Soto's going to hit a home run. There's a little comeback tour here. Same thing with Judge, Alonso there. So, listen, Max Fried tomorrow night. He's been the ace for the Yankees. Been really with Cole gone and Heel out probably for another month or so at least. He's really saved the Yankees here. So, I'm looking forward to it. I think if you're looking for runs, could get that today with Schmidt and Canning. All right, little day game at Yankee Stadium. Bull might travel a little further. Today's the game you're looking for runs. Tomorrow night, by the way, on Sunday Night Baseball. So you probably won't be the only person hating the series when it's on tomorrow night. Maybe a little bit more of a pitching duel.
We've got the White Sox and Cubs in the Windy City. Sean Burke starts for the White Sox against Matthew Boyd. And then on Sunday, Jonathan Cannon against Colin Ray. Let's be clear, I don't even need to look at the odds. Cubs are going to be monster favorites, George, in both games this weekend.
Yeah, Boyd and Ray probably two more very popular one-start guys this week, right? Because they're facing the White Sox, team we generally look to pick on here. All I think about when I see this, by the way, is Luis Robert is batting 181. They want to move him, and they want to get really good players back. And man, he's hitting some home runs, but other than that, 181. What happened to this guy, Craig?
All right, let's get now to the series that Sam will be watching closely here. Nationals and Orioles. Yeah, sell me on this one. Jake Irvin and Kyle Gibson are the starters. Michael Soroka goes for Washington on Sunday against Zach Eflin. I mean, at some point, for Washington, it's like finish 500. Okay, fine. But at some point, the Orioles got to get hot. Is this it?
No. Once again, this is the problem with the Orioles. When you're throwing pitches out like this, you're not going to go on any kind of big winning streak because these guys are going to lay eggs. All right, they're just going to. Kyle Gibson, at this point, is blah. Eflin, okay, he's your de facto ace, but he's not an ace. And Washington's not a bad team here. I'm not saying they can't win both, but odds are they'll split. That's the way I look at it here. For Washington, for me, it's all about James Wood. I think this kid's a star, or going to be his up and coming star here. I'm big on Wood because I have a a big number on his over 17 and a half home runs this year. So I'm just doing a little countdown here. And he's already more than halfway there, and we're in mid-May. So, as Sam's telling me, he had 12 yesterday. So I am thrilled about James Wood. That's really much what I'm watching here. Baltimore, one of the bigger disappointments this year. They just can't hit consistently.
All right. Now the Tigers will take on the Blue Jays. How this is a rivalry, I'm not really sure, but fair enough. Reese Olson will start today for the Tigers. Blue Jays, I do believe, just announced who is starting for them today. Is it Sauer or something like that? I think I just saw that. Jackson Jobe, that's a good pitcher for Detroit against Jose Barrios.
Yeah, I guess the joke would be, who cares who the Blue Jays are starting today, right? Another team, their roster always looks good, and they always can't play. I mean, it's every year, year in, year out. So disappointing here. Detroit's been, I don't want to say a surprise, because they made the playoffs last year, didn't they? So it's a good team, very good pitching staff here. I know Casey Mines is on the IL. Reese Olson, decent start here, kind of like the over in that game, by the way, for the betting perspective. The Tigers look to be a team that you're not going to want to face with that pitching staff in a 5-game series.
The game that I'll be at today, I'm on the pregame show on FanDuel Sports Network. It is the Citrus Series, Marlins and Rays. Drew Rasmussen starts for Tampa Bay. Sandy Alcantara has had a tough go of it. I don't think he's ever lost 5 consecutive starts, but here we are. Shane Baz against Cal Quantrill. Miami scored a lot of runs yesterday. Tampa Bay uncharacteristically walking a lot of guys here. But look, all eyes are on Alcantara this weekend for sure. I mean, I think probably Sunday, the pitching matchup may favor Tampa a little bit. It would favor Miami today if Sandy pitches the way that he is capable of.
Yeah, I guess Sandy pitched better last start than he had been pitching. I mean, better, not good, but better. Same thing situation for Miami. I sort of mentioned with the Chicago White Sox. They do, for everything we're hearing, they do want to move Alcantara because they know they're not going to be able to sign him. But to get the return they want, they need him to pitch. I mean, much better here. I've got Sandy on my home fantasy team. I'm not starting him anymore. Can't do it. I'm not releasing him, but I'm not starting him. So put a couple of starts together. Really surprised. It's TJ. We're only in mid-May here. He's only made a handful of starts. He's still getting through it here. I think he'll be fine eventually. I just don't know when eventually is.
Carmen Mlodzinski starts for the Pirates today, and he goes up against Zach Wheeler. By the way, for those of you who missed the news yesterday, Aaron Nola placed on the injured list by the Philadelphia Phillies. Paul Skeens starts for the Pirates on Sunday against Christopher Sanchez. It's a great pitching matchup, and Skeens certainly succeeds pretty much every time he's out there, George. Again, we've talked about this before. The Pirates are just having a hard time scoring. My guess is Philadelphia wins the first game Saturday, and then Sunday, a little bit of a toss-up here. I mean, Pirates got to score 3 or 4 runs in order to win, right?
Agree with both your conclusions there. Wheeler should dominate today. Well, not much of a problem. And tomorrow's your pitching duel, right? The Skeens will pitch well too, but against Philly, still going to give up a couple of runs there, and I don't know if they'll score anything of Sanchez, who has pitched well. As for Aaron Nola, that is the addition of addition, the definition of addition by subtraction. He's been awful. If he was still starting, he had like 1-2 good starts here. His ERA is north of 6. He's just been bad. So like I said, at least that solves the problem for you. Now you can't start him.
Yeah, probably get him right would be the idea. Sam, let's go to the Cardinals and Royals as we close this out here with Miles Michaelis against Seth Lugo. Matthew Liberatore takes on Michael Wacha. Cardinals have been playing good baseball lately. Royals are the better team. We'll see what happens.
I think I had heard that Lugo was being skipped, by the way. I don't think he started. Not an injury. I don't think it's an injury. I think they're just skipping him maybe for a finger issue or something like that. So I think no Lugo.
We'll be right back with more fantasy sports today. Don't go away.
your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
They
does.
played side by side
Yes.
with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't
the
that
best
it wasn't as
quarterback
good as
prospect
Quinn
they've ever
Ewers.
got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian
Why
made
would it be
very
Quinn
clear
Ewers' program?
the entirety of the time that
No.
Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick,
Quinn
Arch
Ewers'
Manning is
team.
not that good and not deserving of being first overall is
Yes.
asinine. It is wrong.
I
It
just
is
told you
incorrect.
he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing
No,
was
see,
I'm
you're
buying
doing
him
your
because
thing now
I
where you
expect him to
double
have
down on a
decent
take
season. No, I'm
that
not
is
doing that.
incorrect
The
when I
best
show it's
quarterback
incorrect.
prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over
not,
a 7th-round
There were
pick
two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback
Stop
recruits
it.
in the history
Stop
of the
it.
sport.
Quinn
Vince
Ewers couldn't
Young
even play at
and
Ohio
Quinn
State.
Ewers.
He couldn't even play at
Vince
Ohio
Young and
State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to Fantasy Sports today here on Sports Grid. Let's continue to look at the weekend matchups. And there's a rivalry, of course, in Texas. These teams don't like each other. Houston Astros, Texas Rangers. Today, we've got Ronel Blanco against Cy Young candidate, George, Tyler Mahle, right? It's fair to say. Got to say it. I mean, he's been great. I mean, Evaldi's been great, too, by the way. Sunday, not sure who's starting for Houston. Jack Leiter will go for the Texas Rangers. Generally, this is always a fun series here. Mahle, I don't know, fair to say, single biggest pitching surprise of the season? Fair?
No one else comes to mind, so I'm certainly not going to argue with you about it. I know former Red here, don't think they'd like to have him back, right? Had Tommy John surgery. We'll see how it is as it gets to the second half. He gets tired there, but he's been great. Absolutely great here. And once again, even with Cincinnati, we saw some of this, that he was going to be a good pitcher. Just, didn't materialize at the time here. So it is a rivalry. We'll see. We'll see if Jordan Alvarez maybe gets back. I don't think so, but maybe. Altuve has been up and down. Christian Walker hit the big home run. Was it last night too? So we'll see how that's working out here. But it is a fun little series here. And I like watching Jack Leiter, another guy who's on my scout team in fantasy leagues. You know, started off really well, then got hurt, then not so much. So another guy who I'm just keeping an eye on to see if he can pay off later in the season.
We've got the Braves and Red Sox, one of the featured series in baseball's rivalry weekend. Grant Holmes will start for Atlanta. Lucas Giolito starts for Boston. On Sunday, it's Spencer Wellenbach against Brian Bayo of the Boston Red Sox. Great season, by the way. I want to mention this for Alex Bregman. My gosh, like George, you cannot get this guy out. Like it reminds me of when Bregman first came up to Houston several years ago. I know he's got this contract this year that says that he could get out of it at the end of the year, and that could go either way, right? Like you don't know. Sometimes that goes well, sometimes it goes bad. It's going great for Bregman. This guy's going to get paid after the year.
He's already making $40 million, but yeah, that, by the way, that'll make the Devers situation so much fun if they want him to go back and play third base next year if Bregman does leave. By the way, good for Christian Campbell. You know, they're working him out at first base. And of course, he was asked about it. He goes, I'll play anywhere to help the team, which is certainly what I believe the Devers should have done here. But I digress. This is an over today. All right, how are there not runs being scored? Holmes and Giolito. How would be Atlanta's not really banging the baseball around the ballpark here? Although their home runs last night from Olsen and Murphy really propelled them to a win there. But I think they're going to get some runs today here. But I'm looking forward. I don't know, Braves and Red Sox. I was looking forward to that series when they play each other each year. So give me the over today in Fenway.
The Twins Brewers series with some TBDs. Bottom line is that the reason to follow this series is because you got the longest winning streak in Major League Baseball going on right now. And probably, George, I would say that there's a good chance that continues today. Pablo Lopez who's pitched great for the Twins. He's back on the mound against the Brewers. They have not yet announced the starter, and I just checked. It's not there. Twins are going to play that game on Sunday. They're TBD at Freddie Peralta. So, George, I'm going to guess the Twins win streak goes to 13 and then may stop on Sunday. But I do think that they could get this win today.
I'm seeing Myers start today for Milwaukee. I don't know how true that is. Just let you know, that's what I've seen here on one site. We'll see if that's actually holds true here. Either way, I'm probably going to be more on the Twins here to extend it to 13. Right now, Milwaukee's not hitting. I don't know if Myers going deep into the game anyway. This may be more of a bullpen game for the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah, it's really, when you think about it, George, like we get a couple of teams every year to roll off, what would you say, like 15 in a row, 16 in a row? I mean, I did not have the Cardinals and Twins as those teams to do it. I think if we would have talked about those two teams 2 weeks ago here, we would have said, if you had to predict whose season is done, I probably would have said the Cardinals. I may have even said the Twins.
I don't think I would have said either one, only because of the divisions they play in, right? I mean, the National League Central's not all that great. Cardinals could stay at least till July, then maybe. And same thing with the Twins. The Twins are always there every year anyway, but they play in a weaker division, so I don't think I would have ever said they're done. So listen, Cardinals definitely playing better than we thought. Minnesota, same thing. And I like winning streaks. It is fun to talk about and wonder if they're ever going to lose again or when they will. So, hey, as long as the Twins aren't playing the Yankees, or more importantly, as long as I didn't bet against them that night, or if my fantasy team has players going against them, they can win all they like.
We'll take a quick time out here on the show. We'll tell you who Shohei Ohtani is off with next. Ohtani, by the way, in case you missed it, hit his 16th home run of the season last night. But up next, we preview the games out west on Saturday and Sunday here on Fantasy Sports Today. Gray Albright's going to join us, so don't go away.
Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
They
does.
played side by side
Yes.
with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't
the
that
best
it wasn't as
quarterback
good as
prospect
Quinn
they've ever
Ewers.
got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian
Why
made
would it be
very
Quinn
clear
Ewers' program?
the entirety of the time that
No.
Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick,
Quinn
Arch
Ewers'
Manning is
team.
not that good and not deserving of being first overall is
Yes.
asinine. It is wrong.
I
It
just
is
told
incorrect.
you he's going to be number one overall. My whole thing was I'm
you're
buying
doing
him
your
because
thing now
I
where you
expect him to
double
have
down
decent
on a
season.
take
No, I'm
that
not
is
doing that.
incorrect
The
when I
best
show it's
quarterback
incorrect.
prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over a
not, though.
7th-round
There were
pick
two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback
Stop
recruits
it.
in the
Stop
history of
it.
the sport.
Quinn
Vince
Ewers couldn't
Young
even play at
and
Ohio
Quinn
State.
Ewers.
He couldn't even play at
Vince
Ohio
Young and
State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on Sports Grid. Craig Mish, George Kurtz. We are joined by Gray Albright of Razzball, doing another chat in our Fantasy Baseball Weekly Check-In. Gray, great to have you back here on Newswire. Feels like second week in a row here. We're starting off with Dodgers talk. It's not purposely done by that, but it feels like it's very relevant, especially today, for two different reasons. The first is, and this is the easy one, Shohei Ohtani hit his 16th home run. Everyone has him in fantasy. Everyone's playing him in fantasy. Everybody loves him in fantasy. Here's the other one. Clayton Kershaw is back tonight for the Los Angeles Dodgers, pumping 88 miles an hour. Back a little bit sooner than I think most people anticipated. Everyone said June. We are not there. Dodgers have a million pitching injuries, so they're bringing him back. It feels like a little early. I looked on FanDuel today. They're minus 235 in his first start. We haven't even seen this guy pitch in like a year. So, Gray, is he owned in all these NL leagues? Is he like rostered, or are people watching? I mean, you have a better pulse on this than anyone.
Yeah, no, I think he's probably rostered in NL only because everyone's rostered in NL only. Then in a mixed league, I would assume he's probably on waivers in most mixed leagues. I would say 15-team mixed, maybe rostered, but 12-team mixed and shallower, he's definitely available. I think people are probably going off a name value at this point, and he's had an incredible career. Don't get me wrong, he's first ballot Hall of Famer, but now at this point, last year he had a 4.5 ERA. He barely pitched 30 innings. I just don't see it anymore. Unfortunately, I would say he's probably good for maybe 4 to 5 innings at most. I wouldn't bet on him. Unfortunately, I really like him in the big picture, just for like career wise, but for right now,
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement here on Clayton Kershaw. I mentioned earlier on the show, Greg, I have 2 open spots on my roster, 2 injuries this week, and I'm not taking Clayton Kershaw. And it's a deep league. He's certainly available there. We've been talking all show about the Minnesota Twins. They've won 12 in a row. St. Louis Cardinals, 9-1 in the last 10. Gray, do you believe in either team, both, or are they both just a mirage in mid-May?
No, I think both teams are really, as long as a team has solid pitching, I think they can go fairly far, at least get into the playoffs, if not win the division. I think both teams are solid. I wouldn't necessarily put them against the Dodgers. If the Dodgers, if their pitching gets healthy, I feel like the Dodgers, or I like the Mets better. The Yankees, even if they can get some more pitching. But yeah, they're solid teams. They're solid central teams. I think the division's a little bit weaker, so the standards are a little bit less. But I like them. I think they have some really good players. Specifically like Joe Ryan is great. Pablo Lopez has really put his, he's put last year behind him. He's pitching well again. I really like Bailey Ober. So they do. The Twins, that is, specifically, really do have solid pitching. And the same with the Tigers. The Tigers have really, their pitching program there in Detroit has really done a 180 from like maybe, a couple years ago. Like they have now, anything the Tigers really touch when it comes to pitching has been solid. They turned around Jake Flattery's career last year. Then they went out and they sold him off to the Dodgers. Then they re-got him. And then Reese Olson has been fabulous. Tariq Skubal, obviously, if not the best pitcher in baseball, number 2. So yeah, I think as long as you have the pitching, you can go far.
Gray, it for me this season, it's been a little bit different with fantasy because I just, like most years, I'm sort of like streaming closers and things of that nature. Where would you say this year is as compared to others? Do you feel like it's standard for guys picking up, losing their jobs? I know different elite closers have had their issues in April and May as well. How does 25 stack up with like 24, 23? Has it been just the same, different, guys losing their job more or less? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's always a bit of a crapshoot when it comes to closers. I don't think this year is really that different. closers are a mess, man. I don't know if you know, but they're a mess. Like you'll have a guy like say Jose Alvarado, right? In April, he was really solid. Then suddenly we get to May and he becomes a loogie, a lefty one out guy out of the bullpen in the 8th inning. And it's like, whoa, how did that happen? What happened there? Alvarado was solid. And then he just loses the 9th inning job to Romano, who they brought in the offseason, who was terrible in April. And the same with like the Pirates. It's like, oh, Bednar looks good. Now he looks terrible, gets sent down to the minors. Then he comes back from the minors and everyone's like, oh, he's good again. And then he doesn't get a save for 3 weeks. And Dennis Santana is the closer again. So, yeah, I mean, closers are a mess, man. That's it.
That's no shock, by the way. They're always a mess. All right,
Yeah.
there's the closing position here. Someone who hasn't been a mess. Now, you already talked about this team for the pitching side, right? Schoolball's great. Reese Olson, Flaherty. Javi Baez. Are we buying in on Baez?
Yeah, Javi Baez has had an really interesting career. If you would have told me in March that he would be good this year, I would have been like, no, he's not good. He's really bad. And then if you would have told me in like 2019 that I would have told you how terrible he'd be for like the next 4 years, I'd be like, no, he's great. So he's had a really bizarre career. Like he was one of the best players in baseball, then one of the worst players in baseball where he couldn't hit a slider. And now he's solid again. I can't, for the life of me, I can't think of another player who's had that sort of career where he's really done a 180, then another 180. I like him. I think, the numbers back up what he's doing. He's making really solid contact. He's no longer swinging at those balls in the dirt. His hard hit is decent. He's making some good, like his launch angle looks good. His line drives look good. He's making really good contact. He seems like he has fixed whatever was broken, for the last 4 or 5 years. So yeah, I like Javi Baez. I never thought I would do it.
Yeah, last week, Ray, we talked about Marlins catcher Agustin Ramirez. He just continues to hit. Like I think he's a strong Rookie of the Year candidate in the NL. It's possible that maybe the guy that he's going to fight with for Rookie of the Year, is it possible that he's going to fight with another catcher in Drake Baldwin? Like, I mean, what have we ever seen like 2 good rookie catchers in 1 year?
Yeah, and what's also really bizarre with the Drake Baldwin situation is he's not even the starter in Atlanta. Sean Murphy's the starter. So it's like, how is Drake Baldwin doing so well? And he's only playing like 2 times a week. So yeah, no, it's a weird situation going on there. I would say for fantasy, I like Ramirez better than Baldwin just because of the playing time. But yeah, it's bizarre that Drake Baldwin is doing as well as he has been, considering he's not really playing every day.
Greg, real quick, we're running out of time here, Greg. I'll take another catching situation. Dalton Rushing, right? One of the Dodgers' top prospects called up. Are we picking him up? I mean, he can hit, but is he going to play enough?
Yeah, I think it's similar with the Drake Baldwin situation where I just don't know what Rushing is going to play. I'm kind of surprised that they called him up. On Razzball, I said, I think he got called up for the Dodgers to showcase him, to sell him off at the trade deadline.
That's a good call.
Get an arm. So yeah, I really don't think Russian is going to be worth anything for fantasy, at least.
Yeah, I think so. All right, Gray, great to have you back. Great to have Rich Hill back too. Thanks for coming on. We'll be back with more fantasy sports today. Don't go away. We'll be back after these messages.
your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
They
does.
played side by side
DRS.
with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't
the
that
best
it wasn't as
quarterback
good as
prospect
Quinn
they've ever
Ewers.
got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian
Why
made
would it be
very
Quinn
clear
Ewers' program?
the entirety of the time that
No.
Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick,
Quinn
Arch
Ewers'
Manning is
team.
not that good and not deserving of being first overall is
Yes.
asinine. It is wrong.
I
It
just
is
told
incorrect.
you he's going to be #1 overall. My whole thing
No,
was
see,
I'm
you're
buying
doing
him
your
because
thing now
I
where you
expect him to
double
have
down on a
decent
take
season. No, I'm
that
not
is
doing that.
incorrect
The
when I
best
show it's
quarterback
incorrect.
prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over
not
a
so.
7th-round
There were
pick
two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback
Stop
recruits
it.
in the
Stop
history of
it.
the sport.
Quinn
Vince
Ewers couldn't
Young
even play at
and
Ohio
Quinn
State.
Ewers.
He couldn't even play at
Vince
Ohio
Young and
State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to Fantasy Sports. Today, George Kurt's going to be very busy this weekend watching fantasy baseball, George, right? Like, I mean, you can't wait for this big weekend ahead, or are you locked in the hockey? Panthers got a shot. Did Panthers blow it? Is this it? They're going to lose to Toronto? Toronto chokes, though, right? Every time?
Yes, Toronto does choke every time. Every time. All right. So listen, I was surprised that the Panthers lost last night. Really thought they would take care of business there, but they did not. Great game by the Leafs. Little shutout there. Game 7 tomorrow, and that one. Game 6 is tonight, though, in Winnipeg and Dallas. Another interesting series. They will see if Winnipeg can finally win a playoff game on the road, as they have lost 8 straight games. My guess is, though, Dallas wins and Florida pulls it out tomorrow.
Sam seems to endorse it, so we got a good shot. When is this game tomorrow? By the way, Florida Toronto, or is it Monday? Do you guys have a clue?
I think it's tomorrow.
Okay.
Oh, it's
All
the
right.
NHL. It wouldn't shock me if they move it to Monday or next Tuesday or Memorial Day.
Okay, George. All right, we got to get George out of here. He's getting crusty here as we end the show. Let's play a little game of buy or sell. All right, let's get it started here. The New York Mets have been great this season, and one of the main reasons has been their pitching. How about that? Like, shocking to see this Griffin Canning and Peterson. And I mean, generally, when the Mets have done this, George Clark or Holmes, generally when the Mets have done this in the past, it hasn't worked, right? Like, they've always leaned on like a number 1 and a number 2, and then these 3, 4, 5s crap out. Hasn't been the case this year. Buy or sell, the New York Mets will have the best pitching staff in all of Major League Baseball this season.
Yeah, this is what Stearns believes in, the GM, right? He doesn't believe in paying a starter. They get hurt. The contract's not going to pay off, that sort of thing there. It's what they believe in here. That being said, all right, Senga didn't pitch a lot last season. Clay Holmes, what's going to happen when he gets over the 80 innings mark? Which is going to happen, mid-season here. McGill's already showing signs here. Canning, Peterson, no, they're not going to have the best pitching staff all season. Not without supplementing it with a move or two at the deadline, which they might do. It wouldn't shock me. Lord knows they have the money to do it, and they have the prospects to do it as well here to go out and get anybody they want that's on the market here. This is a sell. Now, once again, I think this is sorry, Sarah, it's a bad question. In all of Major League Baseball, this would be a sell no matter what I thought. All right, I'll always take the field. Always take the field here. If it was in the National League, maybe a better shot at this here. But no, it's a sell for me, Craig. Not in all of baseball.
Yeah, I mean, Detroit is the easy go-to here, by the end of the season, if it's not already. They're pitching great. They can add to the team. I guess the only thing would be, George, is like a month from now, if the Mets are like, yeah, let's go get a starter, and that guy comes in, replaces one of their back-end guys, they even get better than that, that counts. Those stats count. But I'm with you. I'm going to go sell. Okay, American League Cy Young Award. Well, look, we're still far away from this, and let's also keep in mind that the guy who won last year has a great shot to win again this year. Now, one of the names that's in the Cy Young conversation, we don't have an update, I don't believe, as of this morning, but if I'm not mistaken, Cole Reagans left his game yesterday for the Kansas City Royals with an injury too. I didn't see an update yet this morning on that. So I don't know if he's in the mix. I know Hunter Brown is in the mix with the guy again, I won't say his name yet, that won last year. Buy or sell, if the season ended today, Hunter Brown would win the American League Cy Young Award. George, we're talking about right now.
Left groin tightness. That's the injury for Cole Reagans, by the way. We'll see what the determination is there. I assume he's going on the IL. Just a guess here. Hunter Brown has been fantastic. All right, the guy that Craig's teasing, by the way, is Tariq Skubal of the Detroit Tigers here, who's certainly right up there with them. Max Fried for the Yankees has had a fantastic season. They finally lost a start where he pitched in against Seattle the other day. They'd won every start. He's been fantastic. The season ended today with Hunter Brown winning the American Cy Young Award. I certainly couldn't argue it if he did. That being said, he's going up against Skubal, who won it last year, going up against Fried of the Yankees. My guess is he wouldn't, that he'll need a year. You understand what I'm saying? He needs a year before he can get that kind of recognition if he's tied with somebody. If he's clearly ahead, then I think he would win here. But as of right now, would he win it? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it would be probably Max Fried.
I think he's the favorite today. I don't think he's going to win it. I think George is right, even though he's a Yankee guy. Fried at the end could be easily better than Hunter Brown. Skubal, by the way, is Casey Mize? Are we even talking about him in like this conversation? Are we talking about Nathan Eovaldi too? Like there's so many other guys. But as of right now, I am going to go as of right now, yes, with Brown. So I'll buy that. But I think at the end of the season, I would sell. I don't win. Okay, so the Red Sox, George, they've played the most mediocre baseball of the season. They're up, they're down, they win, they lose, they win two, they lose two. Like this is what's been going on all year. This Rafael Devers situation just never ends. Some of this, George, you have to admit at this point of the season is on Boston. Like you can't like literally just keep changing your opinion throughout. Maybe we were on board at the beginning of the year that he should play wherever they want him to. But then when they told him where they wanted to play and then they had an injury, now he doesn't want to switch again. It's a mess. Buy or sell, Devers will be traded this season. Let's also not forget that there's $300 million on the table due to Devers, which eliminates him from, what would you say, like 17 teams?
Oh, I would think more than 17, maybe 27. That's a joke. But how many teams could afford him? All right, 5, 6. How many teams needed a third baseman who can't play third base? How many people want to deal with his attitude? He hasn't come off looking good at any of this. Whether you believe he should have anyway, he doesn't look good at this. Will he be traded? No, he won't be traded. The salary alone makes it highly unlikely. He's a great hitter. All right, no doubt he can hit. But other than that, there's too many between the money and the attitude and no really position for him here. He's not getting dealt anytime soon.
The Giants are playing good baseball, but I think all of us expect this to. Oh, I'm sorry, Devers. I skipped over it. Sorry, Devers will not be traded. Sell. Sorry. It took me an hour and 51 minutes to screw up the show, but I did it. The Giants are playing good baseball, but I think a lot of folks think that they're going to fade at some point. I mean, look, if they keep getting these crazy performances by Robbie Ray, Wilmer Flores, at the plate, then they'll be buyers. But what do you got here, George? There'll be sellers at the deadline. Buy or sell?
Boy, probably the toughest question for me here. I'm going to sell. I'm going to say no. They're not going to sell at the deadline. They'll be still in competition.
I got buy.
and your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
They
does.
played side by side
yes.
with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't
the
that
best
it wasn't as
quarterback
good as
prospect
Quinn
they've ever
Ewers.
got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian
Why
made
would it be
very
Quinn
clear
Ewers' program?
the entirety of the time that
No.
Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick,
Quinn
Arch
Ewers'
Manning is
team.
not that good and not deserving of being first overall is
Yes.
asinine. It is wrong.
I
It is
just told
incorrect.
you he's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm
you're
buying
doing
him
your
because
thing now
I
where you
expect him to
double
have
down on a
decent
take
season. No, I'm
that
not
is
doing that.
incorrect
The
when I
best
show it's
quarterback
incorrect.
prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over a
not, though.
7th-round
There
pick
were two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback
Stop
recruits
it.
in the history
Stop
of the
it.
sport.
Quinn
Vince
Ewers couldn't
Young
even play at
and
Ohio
Quinn
State.
Ewers.
He couldn't even play at
Vince
Ohio
Young and
State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to Fantasy Sports today here on Sports Grid. George and I have a few minutes to go, and then we got to get out of here. Of course, we got plenty of NBA coverage coming for the games tomorrow, and naturally hockey games as well. But we end with a quick note here on Elly De La Cruz of the Cincinnati Reds, who's set to break some records here. He's 4 hits away, George, from reaching 300 hits, 150 runs driven in, and 100 stolen bases for his career in fewer games than any other player that RBIs became official in 1920. He's entering his 304th game of his career, and I'm glad that Sam brought this up. The record is 328 games by Hanley Ramirez. So 2 things I want to mention here. Number 1, Elly De La Cruz is a superstar in this game, and he's going to have a better career than Hanley Ramirez. But I can tell you, George, as somebody who covered Hanley Ramirez here in South Florida, this was probably one of my biggest whiffs ever. I thought this guy was on the Miguel Cabrera trajectory. They played on the same team together, George, Hanley Ramirez. I mean, his career just plummeted after 7-8 years. Went to Boston, got traded, or LA, then Boston. I mean, I was stunned to see his career end the way it was. I thought he was a lock Hall of Famer watching him first 4 years, 5 years in Miami.
Yeah, I don't think you were the only one who thought that. All right, I think we all thought Hanley Ramirez was going to be a superstar, right? The Hall of Fame lock and this kind of player just didn't work out for whatever reason here. Elly De La Cruz is probably the most fun player to watch in the game, especially when it's a gapper. You know, he's running the third base, getting that triple there. A lot of fun. I guess, when I look at this, though, is this really a record? Are we just making up things now? 300 hits, 150 RBIs? I mean, where's the 150 RBIs come in? Is there a record for 160 RBIs? How about 175, 182? Anybody? So we have records for everything in baseball where we just make up things. Get off my lawn.
Time now to end the show, George. I wonder what you're going to complain about today. It's time now for the Sports Grid 60.
I enjoy my complaint minute, okay? I get up my frustrations for the week. This week, what's frustrating me? Now, Craig, you and I have been playing fantasy baseball forever, all right? It used to be the most fun part of fantasy was trading, making trades, all right? Nowadays, you can't trade. No one trades anymore, and it's Craig's fault. It's my fault. It's Craig's fault because yeah, it's definitely Craig's fault because when you ask somebody, oh, what are you? That was a terrible trade you made. You're an idiot. It's all the talk shows. People are afraid to make deals because they're afraid of being criticized. Of course, then again, maybe if you ask us before you make the deal, you might get better results there. But in my home league here, I have 3 closers I mentioned earlier. I'm trying to trade one. I want a decent starting pitcher. Nothing great. And it's not the fact that I can't trade. It's that no one even engages. I said personally to everybody, no, thank you. Some people are very courteous. Oh, thank you, but not right now. No one makes a counter offer. No one even wants to talk, and no one engages as far as making trades. And I firmly believe it's everyone's afraid of making a bad deal, or everybody wants to win the deal. Sure, I'll take one of your clothes. You can have my 17th starter who has no chance of pitching for anybody. That sort of thing here. So I just can't get anybody to engage. It's extremely frustrating. Used to be the most fun, not anymore.
Major League Baseball has really good ideas, and I think that if you think about some rule changes that were very critical in the past, interleague play, pitch clock, I mean, a lot of these things have worked, and we, certainly hear, about things that could potentially happen. Some happen, some don't. The one thing that I did want to mention here is that things like Rivalry Weekend in particular just sort of pop up on us. Now, of course, I'm covering the game, and I'm on the pregame show for the Marlins, and so I'm following this stuff closer than everybody, and I'm aware of the Citrus Series. But this is a really great way, if Major League Baseball could do a better job of marketing this, to create some rivalries that don't necessarily exist. Like, as an example, George mentioned, is there really a true rivalry between the Braves and the Red Sox? No. But with marketing and positioning things the right way, I think you can create something out of nothing. It doesn't always have to be St. Louis and Kansas City, or the Mets and the Yankees, or the A's and the Giants. I mean, those things exist already. You don't have to pump those things. They're not going anywhere. Try something new. Like, for example, what Seattle and San Diego are doing with the Vetter Cup. I love these new ideas. Just got to push them out there a little bit more. That'll do it for the show today. Thanks to Gray Albright for coming on the show. George, enjoy your weekend of baseball and hockey, and we'll see you next week for Fantasy Sports Today.
Absolutely. Everybody, good luck this week. Enjoy the games. You got hockey, you got basketball, you got the Preakness. This is a pretty damn good sports weekend.
Yeah, PGA Championship, by the way, just announced that because of weather, everybody's like teeing off at the same time or something on hole 1 and hole 10. I don't know. We got to get out of here. We don't have time for that today. Thanks again to our producer, Sam. For George, I'm Craig. See you back here next week.
Knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The Warriors' future was uncertain. Are they going to break it up? Steve Kerr coming back. They get Jimmy Butler, and they surge all the way through, and now they're through the first round.
The Warriors have guys, because of how special their star trio is, they can make the guys around them better. They can elevate the way that they play. And we saw that. Steph Curry, 3 points in the first half, steps up in the second half, 19 points in the second half to carry them home.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Under him was Sharon Moore, who also participated in the cheating scandal with Connor Stallions. So you know what happens to him? He doesn't lose his job. He doesn't get a 10-year show cause. He gets to keep his job, and they go, we're just going to suspend you for 2 games next season.
Now, all of a sudden, they're coming out with everything that we knew to be pretty much true when it was happening. Yeah, they were cheating. It was like Belichick and the videotapes, right?
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on.